maybe it's better to have something that might get skewered for being on the short side, but ultimately is better for it in some ways, because it's better at standing the test of time ultimately.
And Michael, with your wonderful segue, that means it is time for us to discuss what we will be playing as our next game.
Yes.
Okay, so it is the spooky season. As our tradition, we play a spooky game at spooky season. So what are we playing? What's our spooktacular game for this season?
This is a game I was planning on revisiting a while back, and then we had a show, and I'm like, I'm going to save this before I come back and finish this game for good. A game called Parasite Eve. A bit of a cult classic from the PlayStation days.
Something you've been talking about wanting to do with this from the beginning of the show, back in 2020 when we started. Kind of give me a run through of this game, kind of the history of it, and then why our listeners should be playing along with us on this.
Yeah, because the history of this game is fascinating, because this is very much a place in time type of game. So I'm going to be there's a lot of prep work for this, so I'll go ahead and get started. Parasite Eve is a horror action RPG by Squaresoft. During the early 90s, Square was a developer and publisher mostly known for Japanese RPGs. And the games developed by them during this time were exclusively for either the Super Nintendo or the Game Boy. In 1994, Squaresoft released the smash hit Final Fantasy VI, or Final Fantasy III in North America. After the game's completion, the staff had to contemplate where to begin development for the next game in the series. Nintendo's Ultra 64, as it was known in its development, or Sony's upcoming PlayStation. The team gave themselves 3 months to craft a demo, taking a scene from Final Fantasy VI and rendered a 3D CG demo. The demo alone of this small section was 20 megs. Remember, a Nintendo 64 cart was 64 megs, and one scene from the game was a third of that storage space. So the decision was made. From then on out, CD-ROM was the better, more cost-effective solution, because paying for a bigger cart was a lot more expensive than just making a 2-disc or a 3-disc RPG.
Which is something that you just don't think about now, but games used to be not only on being on disc was a big deal, but there was multiple discs for multiple games. Yeah, it's something to think about.
This meant leaving behind their longtime partner with Nintendo in favor of PlayStation. In 1997, a little game called Final Fantasy VII released and was an absolute smash hit. PS1s sold out in Japan's weeks before the game's release, after the console spent 2 years on the market. So the weeks leading up to it, it was hard to find a PlayStation again in preparation for Final Fantasy VII. In North America, the game sold 1.5 million copies in its first week. RPGs were no longer a niche genre. This was the mainstream now.
The funny thing about that is I just had a core memory get unlocked. That I was at my great-grandmother's house, who lived with my great-aunt. And my great-uncle had Final Fantasy VII on his PlayStation with Gran Turismo and Madden. So it's it crossed over into that level of success that people who played just Madden and Gran Turismo and things like that had Final Fantasy VII.
That PlayStation,
it was a weird core memory that was just unlocked.
Yeah, the PlayStation library was weird when you think about it. Everyone had such the weirdest collection. No two PlayStation libraries were the same. Everyone had a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah, and there was so many really solid PlayStation games that it's you could be the guy who had if you went to your friend's house, he had Twisted Metal and Tomb Raider, and then there's the guy over here who had Tony Hawk and
Metal Gear Solid.
And it's just it was I think the PlayStation 2 had that also.
Yeah.
And I don't know if games really has that anymore. That level of everybody, there's just such variety, and everybody, there's so much, just variety to everything.
To contrast all of this, the early and mid-90s gave birth to a cultural movement in Japan called J-horror. Fiction such as The Ring and Cure were very popular at this time. During this era, a science fiction horror novel named Parasite Eve by Hideaki Sena received critical and commercial acclaim. Chrono Trigger director Takashi Tokita and Final Fantasy VII producer Hinorobu Sakaguchi set out to make a sequel to the novel. Timing lined up in their eyes. Horror games like Resident Evil were very popular, and RPGs finally have mainstream acclaim. So why not combine the two? Production was split between Square's Japanese and American offices. Computer graphics artist Steve Gray, who's credited for animating the Coca-Cola polar bears, was the U.S. development head for the game.
Get me the polar bear man.
Someone in Japan was like, I need this guy.
I just like to see a bunch of like really in suits, stereotypical Japanese businessmen be like, get me the polar bear man. Phone rings in California. You're needed.
Famed composer Yoko Shinomura from Street Fighter II, Mario RPG, and the Punisher arcade game composed the soundtrack. The game's FMV sequences were the bulk of the advertising campaign, being used in both the game's reveal at TGS in 1997 and in television ads in the US. The game released in Japan in March of 1998. In the American lead-up, the ESRB gave Parasite Eve an M rating, the first Square game to earn one. Parasite Eve, released in North America on September 9th, 1998, to mostly positive reviews. The main complaint about the game was that it was considered too short by several outlets. How Long to Beat lists the game at about 9.5 hours. Expect to finish the game all the way through in no more than 15 hours is the subheading for Greg Kasavin of GameSpot's review. It's for noting that Greg Kasavin made Bastion, a game we finished in about 5 hours.
You know, it's funny when you say things on the internet. No, I mean, listen, like, play devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
That was a, like, part of the review process for, like, EGM and stuff. You factored in the length. Like, it was like, okay, the gameplay. Like, back when they did breakdowns of, like,
replay value
7.5 for gameplay, graphics 8.6. You know, everything was super broken down, and then length of game was a factor. Like, oh, it's a long leg game. Congratulations, you get 9 out. You get 9 out of 10.
Even Metal Gear Solid, like a good 10-hour game, was like had to felt the need to put some padding in because I was like, if we can't make an 8-hour a game at full price on 2 discs, that's gonna be crazy.
It's almost like Metal Gear Solid would be better if it was 8 hours.
Yeah, I think I agree
it's
with
almost
that.
like if you don't have to chase those cards.
Those card keys.
If you don't have to handle those card keys, it'd be a better game. I like Metal Gear Solid.
The game would sell 2 million copies worldwide, over half in Japan, and earn a Greatest Hits re-release. While it did not earn any Game of the Year awards at the time, it was voted as the number 16 best PS1 game by Famitsu readers in 2000. It was also chosen as part of Japan's PS Classic lineup, although it is on mine. Weird how to get there.
Michael, that would be like hacking.
What?
Wouldn't it?
What are you talking about? This
wouldn't
weird.
that make you a hacker man?
No.
That's what I want. Going forward, I'm gonna refer to you as Hacker Man Michael.
This game can be played on the PS1, the PS3, the PSP, and Vita, but it is really easy to play with other means if you're also a hacker man.
If you're a hacker man, if you would like to be a hacker man for this Halloween, there's ways for you to play Parasite Eve.
It is on the PS3 digital store for $6. It is a hassle to get that thing because you can't pay for it directly on the PS3. You have to go to a web browser, put money on your PSN account.
It's that bullshit.
Yeah, because they're like, we can't. It was like the credit card service doesn't work for PS3. We turned off that server, so you're gonna have to tie it to your account if you want to play it.
Yeah.
I have it on my PS3, and I'm lending Eric my disc copy of the game.
You're lending me the disc copy, and then which you got recently for a steal.
For about $30 on eBay. If it stops working, you might have to do that backwards way of getting the pay the $6 and do the workaround. I tried to save you from that. It was one of the ones I wanted a physical copy of anyway.
If it stops working, what do you mean?
It's a PS1 game that's like 25 years old.
Okay.
There's some scratches on the back of the disc.
Okay, I thought you meant...
I tested it. I played about 30 minutes to see if it would work, and I didn't run into any skips or any problems, so you should be fine.
If worse comes to worse, there was a store around here that does disc repair.
Yeah, you get...
Yeah, I get it.
I got some good... I was weighing if I need to get resurfaced or not, but yeah.
I mean, we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
The halfway point for this game is an extended flashback sequence in the hospital on day 4. The game is divided up into 6 days, but the exact halfway point is in the middle of day 4. In the hospital dungeon, that's a phrase, there is an extended flashback sequence.
Extended flashback. Do we play through the flashback sequence, or do we stop at the flashback sequence?
You stop after the flashback. The flashback sequence is a in-game cutscene.
Okay.
That will have some pretty big character reveals in it.
So
you will
after
know the one.
the cutscene,
there is a save point in that room. Go to the save point and save. Because this is not an auto-save game. This is an old PlayStation RPG.
So after the big flashback cutscene in the hospital
on day
4, we will save the game, and that will be our stopping point.
Yes. Okay. And since this is a PlayStation RPG, do not feel bad about if you need to pull up a map of some dungeons. That is a PS1 game. That has to happen. Yeah. And I would also keep multiple save files.
Like I do that.
2 or 3.
I do that in modern games.
There's a lot of save points in this game. It's you save at phones because it's a modern day RPG. So every time you see a phone, you can save. So I would cycle between like 2 or 3 save slots just in case you get stuck and you want to go back and like explore the environment for an item or better armor. You can do that.
I like I said, I do that on modern games. I always bounce between at least 2 to 3, so that's not an issue. That's just good. That's just responsible gameplay, is what that is. No, I think this is going to be interesting. It's a game that I have no experience with.
Do you know like anything about this besides this an RPG?
I don't actually know if I want to. I was starting to look up stuff, and then I realized that it'd be more interesting with me going completely blind.
That would be fun to see.
Now, you have read the prequel book.
I have read the book that this game is technically a sequel to. It should not affect your enjoyment of the game or the story because everything that's going to be told in the book, from my understanding, is going to be explained to the characters of this world. I just wanted to do it so I have background knowledge and so I can do like a very deep dive if I need to and explain like, oh, they're referencing this character from the book.
Is the book good?
It's good.
It is good?
It's weird. So it's a like medical drama for 2/3 of it and then goes full sci-fi horror for the last third. Like body horror stuff, which...
That's cool. Is it a long book, short book?
It pretty short book. It's like 300 pages, but like 20 pages of it is an appendix. So it was a really fast read. It took me a couple weeks. I'm a slow reader, so...
I might try to read that.
It's available digitally. The physical copy of the book only had 1 run in the United States, and naturally fans of the game want it, so it's a high price, but it is a $10 ebook.
I wonder if it's an audio version.
I'm not sure.
I'll look. I might try to get to it. I got like 3 books running right now, so I might have to put it on the pile and see if I enjoy the game as much.
You might want to see if you enjoy the game before you dive in.
I'm a sucker for books, though.
But this game is really fascinating, and I thought it was a good fit for the show, both in like its length, and we don't typically get a chance to play a lot of RPGs on the show.
No, we don't, because
they're massive.
Yeah, massive, and we gotta keep things moving. But yeah, I think it's good to play an RPG, and it's also good to fiddle with a game that's kind of a cult classic. There is no sequel to this, right?
There is a sequel.
There is a sequel.
There's Parasite Eve 2 on the PlayStation 1, which not to get too far in the weeds, that plays more like a traditional Resident Evil with some light RPG mechanics. It's like an inverse of the first game. And then there's a third game. We don't talk about the third game. Have you heard of a game called The Third Birthday on the PSP?
Possibly?
That is a PSP game which, from what I understand, has really good gameplay but completely ruins the main character.
Oh no!
So
how
everyone
does it
just
ruin the main
character? I'll explain that as we go forward.
Okay.
But
okay. I don't like the way you said that, because it's not like just it ruins the main character because it's bad. It was like he does something, only. I don't know. Okay.
I'll keep it. You want to know nothing. You want to
go I want to know nothing.
So this will be exciting. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this game, because you're going to be like, this is really fascinating, or Michael, I hate this thing.
No,
I hate that you make me play it.
No, I think it'd be interesting. I like to. It's also I don't think we played a PlayStation game this season, or a game from that generation. Have we?
I don't think so. We typically I think this is the earliest gen we've gone back. We talked about some Super Nintendo games, but
we've played Grim Fandango.
That was 98.
When was this?
98.
98. Because we've gone back to the PlayStation before, because we did Metal Gear Solid.
I think Metal Gear Solid is technically the earliest that we played.
Because, I think the earliest would be Metal Gear Solid, and then, like, Sonic Adventures.
That was 2000 or 2001.
2001. So, 1999, 98 is probably the latest we've gone back. Okay, I think it's good to go back and play something from this generation. I think it'll be interesting. I look forward to it. So, extended flashback sequence in day 4 of the hospital. Save after that. That'll be our stopping point. You can check us out at State of the Save on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. You can also send your emails to stateofthesave@gmail.com. Tell us that we need to stop being negative Nancy's and enjoy video games. But no, I think this is going to be a great one. I'm looking forward to playing this. I might fiddle around with it this week. Go ahead and get a jump on things. As always, stay safe out there. See you.
Wait. Cut it. We're not done here yet. I read a book for this show, and I'm not just going to make it my problem. I'm going to make it your problem as well. I'm mostly kidding, but I thought it would be good, since I read the book Parasite Eve, to give you all a quick summary, just in case you want the backstory before you go in and play this game for the first time. Or if you're a returning player of Parasite Eve, to refresh yourself on some of the backstory. Kiyomi had the same dream on her birthday, Christmas Eve, every year. In it, she is floating in a dark void suspended by a current. She can feel her body changing, undergoing some type of transformation. This becomes routine, and she takes comfort in believing she is simply remembering her time in her mother's womb, unaware of something more sinister making its metamorphosis. When she was in college, a sign for a seminar caught her eye. Symbiosis with mitochondria, the evolution of a cellular society. Her heart began to pound violently. She attends the seminar to try to figure out why she had this strange reaction to the bulletin. She takes a seat and finds herself uncharacteristically enraptured by the presentation. The professor gives the history of mitochondria and how they are a bacteria that have lived symbiotically with our cells for our entire genetic history. The slides in the presentation had a research credit to someone named Toshiaki Nagashima. The name echoed in her mind, her heart pounding violently again, something whispering, "He is the one," in her head. The convulsions are too much for her, so she passes out. Toshiaki, who was attending the same lecture, is the first one Kiyomi sees when she wakes up. Knowing the name from the slides and the following whisper in her mind, Kiyomi feels a connection to him. Toshiaki is learning to become a pharmacologist, with a specific interest in studying mitochondria. The two hit it off and begin dating, and eventually marry. One day, out of the blue, Kiyomi tells her husband that she wants to register to be an organ donor, something rare in Japan at the time and is considered taboo in some circles. She instantly has no memory of asking, but decides to go along with it anyway. Not long after this, Kiyomi gets in her car and drives the same road she does every day. Suddenly, her dream takes over. She is once again floating, feeling her transformation. She wakes up regaining control right before her car crashes into a telephone pole. She is rushed to the hospital, Toshiaki leaving his work at the university to be with her. The doctors declare her brain dead, as she remains alive but her brain is permanently and irreparably damaged from the crash. Toshiaki is asked, since she was a registered donor, if they can extract her kidneys for transplant. Toshiaki agrees, honoring his wife's spontaneous request. In the days leading up to the procedure, Toshiaki calls in a favor to his friend who works in the field, asking when they extract his wife's kidneys to give him her liver. While this is happening, a young girl named Mariko receives a phone call from the hospital for her father. A kidney has become available to her. Mariko was suffering from kidney failure, having received a replacement from her father a couple years before. Unfortunately, her being teased at school resulted in her refusing to take her daily medication, so the kidney was rejected from her body. Now, she has been given a second chance. She hides the news from her father, but he signs her up for a transplant, much to her disapproval. Kiyomi's organs are extracted, the kidneys going to patients including Mariko, and her liver going to her husband. Toshiaki takes the liver back to his lab at the university, having his lab assistant Asakura assisting with cultivating her cells. He is reluctant to explain to her where he got the liver. The cells are healthy, but are dividing and multiplying at a rapid rate. He places the vial of cells in an incubator and names the cells Eve 1 after his late wife's birthday. Meanwhile, Mariko is having frequent nightmares after her transplant. In them, she dreams the undead corpse of her kidney's donor breaks into her room, ripping her open to get the kidney back. Eve 1 cells continue to multiply at a rapid rate, Toshiaki obsessed with his findings, believing that his wife is communicating with him after death. One night, the cells form Kiyomi's face in the microscope lens. Toshiaki thinks he is seeing things since it is a late night, but the truth is that Eve has evolved from mitochondria alongside the human genome over the course of human evolution. It is with Kiyomi when she finally gained consciousness. Having fallen in love with Toshiaki for recognizing mitochondria's potential, she decides to use him as part of her plan for expanding mitochondrial evolution to become the new dominant species, completely untethered from the cells mitochondria inhabit. Asakura stays late at the lab one night to prepare for her upcoming conference presentation when she is disturbed by a wet, flapping noise coming close to her. She is attacked and grabbed by shape-shifting goo which unhinges her mouth and forces its way down her throat. Asakura has no memory of the attack as she attends the conference. Toshiaki helps her set up for her presentation. When she starts, the tone of her voice changes. She declares herself as a sentient mitochondria named Eve who has evolved over the course of millions of years and has finally awakened. Confused, the professors try to stop the presentation. Suddenly, the goo from the attack forces its way out of Asakura's mouth and envelopes her entire body before bursting into intense flames. Toshiaki runs onto the burning stage and frees his assistant, Eve disappearing into a drain. After making sure she's in stable condition, he runs to his car and drives back to the lab at the university. He is met with piles of mangled flesh covering the lab and Eve waiting for him. She shifts her form into her original host, Kiyomi. She approaches and kisses Toshiaki, and he blacks out, Eve taking some of his sperm in the process. She then liquefies again and vanishes into a drain. When Toshiaki awakens, he is able to deduce that Eve's target is whoever received Kiyomi's kidney. Toshiaki rushes to the hospital where he meets Mariko's father. They run into Mariko's room where she is taken by Eve, setting anyone that gets in her way on fire by controlling and vibrating the mitochondria of the victim so fast that they spontaneously combust. Eve takes Mariko to a surgery room where she implants a zygote formed from Toshiaki and Eve's cells into Mariko's womb. A child grows rapidly inside of her, and a bloody new body emerges. Eve's cellular form died upon delivering the zygote, but this new physical form is hers. A perfect life form capable of changing its genetic code at will that will replace humans as the dominant species, or so she thought. Eve did not account that mitochondria are exclusively female, so having a male gene, Toshiaki's, serve as the father made it unstable. Eve's life form begins to heat and radiate intense energy. Toshiaki embraces the being, absorbing himself with it, as well as all of the energy. His body can't take it, and he bursts into a quick, spontaneous flame that could have overtaken the hospital if not for his sudden act. After some time, Mariko is able to return home with her dad. Asakura finds traces of the Eve experiment in the lab and destroys every last trace of her. But the story is not over. Eve will return, this time in New York City just a few years later. Join us as we play this story in our first discussion of Parasite Eve for the PlayStation 1 next week.